Hi, welcome to Decoding Confidence. I'm your host, Advita Patel, a confidence and influence coach. And over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to be digging into what confidence actually looks like in the workplace. So go and grab your drink, coffee, tea, go and grab your dog for a walk, empty the dishwasher, and let's decode this confidence thing together. Enjoy this episode. In this episode, I am going to be answering some of the questions that I have received since the book launched a few weeks ago. And these are really good questions, and I love answering them. So if you are listening to this episode and you've got a question yourself that you would like me to answer, then please feel free to drop me a note either on advita@decodingconfidence.com. You can submit it anonymously. Every question I'm reading today is anonymous. Or you can DM me on LinkedIn as well. And all the details are in the show notes. So I've got a handful of questions to get through today. I'm going to try and get through as many as I possibly can. The first question says, how do I push back when leadership keep piling on the work and I feel incapable if I say no to them? Honestly, I totally get this. I've been there where this person has been before, and I'm pretty certain that you've been there as well. How do you push back when leadership consistently keeps giving you work to do and you don't want to seem incapable if you say no? One of the biggest things you can do for yourself is making sure that you have your list of priorities written down. And the reason I say this is that when you're just taking on work and you're not recording it or logging it, it can feel like you'll do it in a minute, I'll do it in a second, I'll get to it. And you probably will, right? If you're conscientious, but you're not really understanding how much work you've actually got to deliver because you're constantly just taking this stream of consciousness that's coming your way from other people, and you're making their task your priority, and you're not really reflecting or logging what you are actually doing in your day. So by the end of the day, you're probably thinking to yourself, I haven't really achieved much. What I will say is that you probably haven't achieved much for yourself and your priorities. You probably achieved a lot for other people's priorities because you're taking on that work. And the reason I tell you to list what you are doing and record it, because it'll give you an idea of what you are actually focusing your energy on. So when requests come your way, rather than saying a firm no, you can say, I'm working on X, Y, and Z today. I can deliver this piece of work for you, but only if I drop one of those priorities, because I'm not going to be able to deliver at the deadline that you're requesting me to do this work by. So what would you like me to not do in this list of priorities in order for me to do your work? This works incredibly well when you are talking to power or decision makers. And ultimately, if you don't want to face into someone who's very much senior than you, then you need to be taking this and talking to your line manager. Because your line manager's role is to make sure that the priorities that you're delivering are able to be delivered in the time frame that you have. Now, obviously, there's give and take in this, and you have to be mindful about how much work you can deliver and not oversell or undersell yourself at any point. But that is if you are talking to decision makers. If it's a peer, or if it's somebody who is at the same level or a level below or a few levels below, then you can have that difficult conversation and say, I understand that this is a priority for you right now. Unfortunately, I have to work on ABC and I'm unable to deliver this for you at the timeline you require, but I can get to it in the next couple of weeks if that works for your schedule. If it doesn't work for your schedule, then we need to look at what additional resources we can bring in to support this piece of work. It feels really uncomfortable when you want to just help people do good work. I completely understand it. But you have to remind yourselves in these moments that actually you're not incapable. You've got a whole list of things you're working on. You've probably got a list of deliverables that you have done. And the second thing to know when you're doing this is that every Friday, I want you to take a pen and paper and list all your achievements, big and small, that you achieved that week, so you can confirm yourself that you are doing good work and you are not incapable. When you're working in a fast paced environment and you're constantly just churning out work, it's really easy for us to convince ourselves that we're not good enough and we are not capable. But when you've got a list of tasks that you've done, you've got the list of objectives that you've written and the deliverables that you have put out there, I guarantee you will completely reframe on how you think about yourself and how capable you believe that you are. I really hope that helped. There's so many more tips in my book, which is never too far away from my side. Please do get this copy if you haven't done so. There's loads of tips and advice in here as well that goes into much more detail on how you can confidently represent yourself without feeling like you are incapable or you being told that you're not capable as well. Okay, second question. Hi, Advita. Thank you so much for this podcast. I really enjoy your episodes. One thing I really want to talk about and ask you about is that you mention energy quite a lot in your book and in your episodes. My boss depletes my energy on a regular basis, and I feel exhausted by the end of the day. Do you have any tips on how I can manage it better? Wow. Okay. Yes, I have lots and lots of tips about energy, and I talk about energy quite a lot. If you have listened to my previous episodes, if you've read my book, you will know like it's quite an important topic for me, because without energy and without us recognizing where our energy is being depleted and where it's being consumed, we are unable to deliver against the 6 other habits that I talk about. Just imagine those days and take that moment where you've been so tired you can't even make a decision on what you want for dinner that night. You can't even make the decision on when you want to get to bed and when you want to go to sleep. Those simple decisions that are easy to make are exhausting you. And that's what happens when energy is being depleted. And it's really difficult when energy is being depleted by a leader, a boss, or someone who is more senior to you, who is a decision maker and holds the power. What I will ask you to do is make sure that you are putting contingencies in place when you are dealing with someone who's a bit of an energy sucker. And in my experience, most of these individuals don't intend to be an energy sucker. It's just that they have a very different way of working to you. So it feels more exhausting to you. So if you are someone who is fast paced, talks fast, moves fast, and all of that stuff, and you're working with someone who's a little bit more reflective, a bit more steadier, who takes a little bit more time to reflect on decisions, that can be fairly exhausting as well, because you just want to move quickly, but they're forcing you to slow down. And vice versa, you're working with someone who is really fast, really quick, really out there, telling you to kind of make decisions quickly. That could be your boss. You haven't described their kind of communication preference, but let's say that is your boss and you are more reflective and more steady. That obviously can be quite exhausting as well. So you do need to put proper contingencies in place. And as I've said, when I talk about communication preferences and DISC framework, you have to adjust and adapt your style. So if you know that your boss exhausts you, then what I want you to do is put in plans beforehand and afterwards. So what I mean by that, if you are a more steady, reflective person and your boss is sucking your energy because of the pace they're moving, then you need to make sure that you've got a window where you can just sit and rest before you see them. And then you've got a window after you've seen them so you can reflect and put out all the thoughts that they have shared with you in a bit of a logical order that works for you. If it is a boss that's more steady and reflective and is not moving as quickly as you would like, then what you may want to do in those conversations is just focus on 2 or 3 key priorities, or even one priority first, without overwhelming them with lots and lots of information, because that can be detrimental and it can be quite exhausting for you when they're not quite getting what you're asking them for. So just take 1 thing or 2 things to them, let them deal with that, let them reflect on that and come back with an answer, then deal with whatever else you've got going on. You have to adjust and adapt based on what you need from that individual. It's really difficult. I know it is, especially when you're working in a place that's going through lots of change. If there's lots of crisis, if there's just lots of restructures and things going on, you just need someone just to basically behave like you. Because let's be honest, it makes life easier if everyone just acted the way we would act, then everybody gets it, everybody's working in harmony and there's no issue. And then the other thing I want to do to make sure that your energy stays quite constant is looking elsewhere where your energy may be also being consumed. So what is not helpful is having back-to-back meetings consistently. Even if you are in the more fast-paced environment, it's still very helpful to you put in 5-minute breaks in between each of your meetings, or having a reflective time just so you can allow your brain to rest. Because when your brain is busy and there's lots going on, it can be really difficult to reserve and conserve, your energy. So make sure that you've got contingencies in place before and after the meeting. Make sure that if it is a boss that's more reflective, you take in one problem and a solution at a time. If it's someone who's fast paced and a little bit too quick for what you need them for, then make sure you've got breaks in between because you have to be in control of that. We never want anyone to change their entire personality. We just need to make sure that they adjust and adapt as well. And if you feel bold enough and you feel confident enough and you've got a great relationship with your manager, then it's also worth taking them for a coffee and having a conversation about how you like to work and how they like to work, and maybe meeting in the middle a little bit as well. I always advise folks to do that at the start of a working relationship. It just kind of puts everything out there. There's no grudges, there's no personal issues. You're just kind of opening up conversation about how each other likes to work, and that can really help as well. So if you say to your manager that I need a little bit more time to reflect on things and I need more than 2 minutes to come up with ideas, or vice versa, whatever your preference is, then hopefully that manager will adjust and adapt as well. And I will always say call it in and call it up, right? That's really important as well. Don't just mull on it and get really bothered by it all, because it will just drain your energy even more. I hope that helped. If you have any more questions on energy and stuff, like I said, it's in the book, but also DM me. You can DM me on LinkedIn. You can DM me on any of the social feeds that we've got, Instagram, TikTok. Okay, the third question is, hi Advita, I want to prove myself at work, but then I end up second guessing myself quite a lot. So then I don't end up saying anything or putting my hand up for opportunities, because I'm always waiting for someone to say yes to me rather than me saying yes to them. Can you help me? Really good question again. This is a really hard one, because as someone who consistently waited for validation and permission, I totally empathize where you're coming from, because a part of you is like, I don't want to kind of put myself out there, and if they say no, then I'm going to feel quite hurt and I may think I'm not good enough. And a part of you is probably like, well, if they really wanted me to be part of that project, and if they really valued my work, then of course they're going to ask me. And if they don't ask me, then they probably don't like what I do, or they don't think I'm good enough. That is often the narrative that we tell ourselves when we're feeling a bit apprehensive about putting ourselves out there. I certainly did. I certainly said that narrative out, like, to myself when I didn't get the validation and permission to do something. I just said, well, they probably don't think I'm ready. That is a load of baloney, right? It's rubbish. It's just a narrative we created to keep ourselves safe. We don't like rejection. I'm generalizing here a little bit, but generally, as human beings, we do not like rejection. We like to be liked. We like to belong. We like to be part of a social group. And if there's any risk of that not happening, then our brain kind of tells us, don't be silly, just keep yourself safe and don't go into that space because you're just going to get rejected. What I will say to you, if you are feeling apprehensive and you're second guessing yourself, is I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to write down 10 things you have achieved in your career that you are really proud of. And I don't mean 10 big, massive things either. I mean 10 things that you have thought at that time, or you've got feedback from people that you're really proud of in your entire career. I'm not talking about this week or last week or today. I'm talking about your entire career. And if you say you don't have any, you do. You 100% do, and you're just being hard on yourself. So I really want you to think about everything you've achieved, everything you have done, everything you've been proud of, and I want you to write it down. If you get more than 10, incredible. If you get fewer than 10, it's a starting point. Don't beat yourself up. But I want you to write it down because, again, going back to the previous questions, we don't take enough time to really think about our achievements. We are moving from one thing to another every single day. And when we keep moving from one thing to another without any pause for reflection, we're just building ourselves even higher achievements to break and achieve when really we're doing good and we just don't give ourselves enough credit for that. So I really want you to write it down and I want you to reflect on those great things you have done and read it before you put yourself forward for an opportunity. Because your brain, even though it's there to keep you safe, it's also being controlled by you. So if you're reading something positive before you go into something that you are frightened of or fearful of, that nervous feeling you have will transform into excitement, because fear and excitement are the same emotions. It's the same feeling. It's the same kind of emotions it evokes, right? Fear and excitement. If you can turn it into excitement rather than fear and listen and list all those things that you have done, that fear that you're feeling about putting yourself forward would instantly turn into excitement. So you're more likely to go, I would love to be considered for that. I would like to be part of that. I would like a pay rise because I've done X, Y, and Z. Whatever is holding you back, I would say that is the best way for you. Quick fix. There are plenty of other tactics and techniques you can deploy as well, but that one is a quick fix. That one will remind you of your greatness and where your genius lies. And I want you to reframe that negativity that you might be saying to yourself and saying things like, I may not be qualified to do that job yet, but I will be. That 3-letter word yet is really powerful. And I want you to remember that when you are frightened of putting yourself forward or you think you're not qualified. I guarantee 90% of the time you will be qualified, but you're just holding yourself back because you're waiting for that permission. And permission and validation, sadly, doesn't always come. It doesn't. And it's not because your boss or your leaders don't think you're capable. It's because, to be honest with you, we're all just a little bit selfish with our time and busy, and we're not always looking out. We're always kind of looking at our own progression and the work that we are doing. And sometimes we can forget about the people around us. It's not intentional, it's not personal, it just happens. So we have to advocate for ourselves. Read the chapter, if you've got my book, on empowerment. That will really help you kind of boost your energy as well in when you're putting yourself forward for things. I hope that helped. A bit of a long-winded answer, but hopefully it was useful. How do I deal with people who keep degrading my confidence with sarky comments? This is going to be a really quick one. Just ignore them. I know that feels like a very simplistic answer, but I want you to really think about is how much do you respect these people? How much do they really inspire you? How much do they motivate you? How much do you really want to be like them? Because if the answer to all of that is I don't, then why are you listening to people who are side characters to your story? Why are you giving them so much of your brain energy? If people are being sarcastic and people are being, projecting their own insecurities onto you and you don't respect them and you don't honor them and they don't inspire you, then don't give them the time. Don't take it on board. They're not worth hearing. It's what Brené Brown says. If they're not in the arena getting their bum kicked at the same time as you and they haven't got the t-shirt, then why are you listening to people in the cheap seats? Now, if it's someone that you do respect and someone that you do value and they're being, giving you unsolicited feedback or even solicited feedback if you asked and they're knocking your confidence, then I would really ask you to reflect on whether they have your best interest at heart. I talk about the learning circle in the book, and the learning circle talks about 3 key characteristics you should have in your learning circle, because there's lots of people out there who think it's their right to give you feedback whether you ask for it or not. There's lots of keyboard warriors. There's lots of people who think they can just say what they want to say to you without any consequences. But I talk about the learning circle because you need to have a small circle of individuals that have your best interest at heart. So you've got the believers. These are the folks who will nourish you, nurture you, champion you, give you the pat on the back when you need it. Then you've got the bridges. These are the folks who will build bridges for you. Literally what it says. They will connect you with people in their network. They'll introduce you in rooms where you don't have a voice. They'll introduce you to opportunities where they are part of that conversation. And they're great people to have in your network. But then you've got the challengers, and the challengers are the people who genuinely have your best interest at heart. They will challenge you, they'll hold the mirror up, they'll ask you the right questions, but they'll do it in a very constructive way. You've got to be really mindful of who these challengers are, because people are very good at giving critique even when you don't ask for it, and people are very good about taking the attention away from themselves, and people are also very good at projecting their own insecurities onto others to make them feel better about themselves. So I want you to be very careful about who your challengers are. And these people, if they are knocking your confidence, I really want you to be mindful about what is their story in your story. What characters are they? Because I guarantee these are side characters, and side characters belong in chapter 1 that don't go all the way through your storybook because they don't deserve it. And you shouldn't give them the space either. So either ignore it, move on, whatever, or if you want to, and I do advocate for this, is call them in and say to them, look, I appreciate that you're trying to help me. However, I'm okay for feedback. I'm good. I don't need any more feedback. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going, and I know how to get there. I don't need any feedback or any criticism. But thank you for that offer, but I don't need it. Or if they're just being mean bullies, then call it out to a HR team and just say, look, I am not comfortable with the way these individuals are talking to me. And it's okay to say that. Keep a record of it, keep a log of it, note what they are saying, because if they're moving into bullying territory, then that is not on. And they have no right to take anything away from you in any organization or in any role at all, in anywhere, personal and professional as well. I hope that helps you. And please do look after yourself, because it can be quite draining, but please also don't give them the time of day at all. Hi, Advita. I have been on the job market for many months. How can I stay motivated and confident when I just keep getting rejection after rejection? Oh, I feel your pain. I really do. There are so many people right now who are in the job market who are struggling a lot. And I've been coaching lots of people. I've been having conversations with folks who are just feeling lost and isolated and just a bit rubbish, really, because of everything that's going on. One thing I want to remind you of is that the job market right now is just dire. And the behaviors of some of these recruitment organizations and even recruiting managers are really poor. AI hasn't helped. AI and its automated rejections without even considering the individual as a whole person is just terrible. So I know that when you feel really competent and ready for a role and you've hit all the criteria and you get that automated rejection within 10 seconds, it can crumble and crush you. I know it can. But I really want you to remove your emotion away from it all and be quite structured in the opportunities that you're applying for, and be mindful that most of these opportunities that you're going for on LinkedIn and in other kind of automated processes, there is a machine that's making that decision, and there really isn't anything you can do to change that. I'm really sorry to say that, but there isn't. The AI is just going to keep on growing and keep on growing. The organizations need to be really mindful about their inclusive recruitment policies, and they need to be considerate about how candidates' experiences are, whether they get 1,000 applications for one role or whether they get 10 applications for one role. Everyone deserves a decent rejection and feedback as and when they possibly can. For your own personal motivation and confidence, I want to go back to the previous question where I told that individual to write a list of things that they are brilliant at. I want you to do the same as well. I want you to write down all of your achievements, all of the great things you've done, the big things, the small things, the in between things. I want you to really reflect on these things, and I want you to pull out the feedback that you've received previously and put it in your happiness folder on your phone, on your laptop, wherever you can have easy access to. And when you're feeling moments of rejection, I want you to go into that folder and read it I want you to open your notebook and read all of the great things you have done, because that is what's going to carry you through the low times. And I know it feels like the tunnel is just consistently dark, but I promise you there is a light at the end of that tunnel, and you will come out of this horrible period that you are in. Best thing to do is surround yourself with great communities, make sure that you're part of good conversations, connect with people, network, get out and about, talk to others who are in a similar situation. There's a brilliant woman called Vicky Marinka. I'll share her details in the show notes. She has a career a community for communications professionals specifically, but if you're not in comms or in other disciplines, then there are other people who do same things as well. Keep yourself motivated by doing other things than just applying for jobs 24/7. Applying for a job is a full-time job in itself, and it's exhausting. So track it in a way that you do 2 or 3 hours worth of applications in the morning, and then you spend the afternoon doing other things, either learning, networking, connecting, some hobby, just resting, watching some trash TV, whatever. But structure your day in a way that you're not constantly just scanning and scanning and scanning for jobs, because it is exhausting. Make sure that the recruitment consultants out there have your details, they understand what kind of job you're going for. Try to avoid the scattergun approach as well. Try to avoid applying for lots and lots and lots of different opportunities outside of your skill set or outside of the industry that you got experience in, because that is not fruitful to your time, because the likelihood of getting rejected from somewhere that doesn't have the skills that they need is quite real. So be realistic with yourself as well in terms of the jobs. Even going for roles that are beneath your skill set, you will get rejection because organizations worry. They worry about the cost in replacing you when the market gets better and you decide to leave for a better paid role. They'll worry about the fact that you're there just as a stopgap. And if you're truly honest with yourself, if you have been struggling to get a job for a while, then going for an opportunity that's slightly lower than your skill set, the likelihood is that you probably will move on in 6 months if the job market gets a bit better. So you can see why the worry is there for a lot of recruiting managers. So try and avoid doing that if you can. It is hard. It is difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, but you need to have these constant reminders about your genius and your greatness. And also the learning circle that I spoke to you about before. Have them, have those people. That's what they're there to do. They're there to kind of support you, to link in with, make sure you're having these virtual networking coffees. If you don't like the word networking, then scrap that word completely, but connection coffees, whatever you want to call them, connections, conversations, chats. I know the word networking can really make people a bit cringy, but call it what you want, but keep that human connection going, because I know it can be quite lonely when you're job seeking. Right, how much time have we got? Okay, I think we've got time for one more question before this episode gets too long. My boss never listens to anything I have to say, and it's absolutely crushing my ability to give good advice. Do you have any tips? It's so hard, isn't it, when your boss just doesn't pay you any attention whatsoever? I will always go back to why. Why are they not listening to you? You're obviously employed because you have the skill set and the experience to do a good job, right? No organization is going to hire anyone who isn't qualified to do the work. And they obviously were impressed by the person that you were in the interview, and that's why you got the opportunity. Why is that boss not listening to you? Is it because you are not speaking their language, business language? Is it because you're not giving them the stuff that they want to know and hear about? Is it because they don't understand what your role is? Or what? Really go into the kind of detail of that. Observe, listen, what are they saying? What are they not saying? How are they reacting towards you? And also, if you feel you can, call it in, take them for a coffee, go and get a walk and talk in with them, whatever you need to do, and ask them and say, look, I don't know how we can improve this working relationship between the two of us, because I really want to help you and the work that you're doing, but I feel like I'm not getting that two-way interaction from you. What can I do to help you? What do you need from me? What's missing for you? Because right now, I feel that my advice is not being heard, and I'm not quite certain why. Is it because you don't think it's the right advice? Is it because you don't think I am giving you the right support? I need to kind of understand from your perspective so I can help you do better work and I can help build whatever you're doing, right, in that organization. Call it in. We're all adults in this organization and nobody is better than anyone. You just got different jobs. And if you've done all of that and they're still being quite dismissive, then I would say to you, you need to plan your exit strategy. What is your exit plan? Now, I know the job market isn't brilliant right now. I'm not saying you need to hand your notice in tomorrow and leave, but you need to start thinking about what your next steps are, either within the organization, moving on to a different department, or going outside of the organization, looking for other opportunities. Because life is too short to be part of an organization that doesn't respect your genius and doesn't respect your skill set. And if you're being treated really poorly by people who should know better, then my advice to you is to start considering where else your gift can be shared. And like I said, start planning your exit strategy, start writing down the type of roles you want, the type of experience you've gained. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who will give you support, the believers from the learning circle, so you get that nourishment and you get that nurturing that's being missed in the current workplace. I hope that helped. If you've got any questions following those pieces of advice, if something isn't clear, then please do feel free to drop me a note, like I said, to Advita at decodingconfidence.com, or you can drop me a DM on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok if you prefer. But please do keep the questions coming. I will answer as many as I can in episodes like this in the future. If you need more support and more help, there's plenty of blogs on my website, decodingconfidence.com. I'm always sharing thoughts and ideas on LinkedIn as well, so make sure you're following me on there. Take care of yourself, make sure that you are getting plenty of breaks and you're having some downtime, and I will see you next time. Take care.